everybody, and good Monday evening to you. It is Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here with weather for Weather Geeks. This is the Mahoning and Shenango Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. Kind of a boring winter so far, but I think things will be a little more intriguing at times over the next couple of weeks. We'll talk some about the long range in this video, but first let's start, as we often do, with a little review of weather history in our area. Today was a big day back in 2009, in the middle of a stretch of pretty big winters for us in the late 2000s. We had 11.3 inches of snow from midnight to midnight on January the 10th, 2009. This was not the snowiest calendar day on record, but it was one of them. It's in the top 6 or 7. And definitely the snowiest day we've had in recent history. We had a day close to this just after Christmas in 2012. Yeah, this was definitely one of the top calendar days for snowfall in our weather history books. We had no accumulating snow registered at the airport as of the climate report at about 5:30 this evening, and pretty paltry amounts so far in the month of January. Only 0.8 at the airport so far in January, 4.6 inches below the average through yesterday's date. Through today's date, we're even farther below that average, and we're over a dozen inches shy of average for the winter season so far. We're going to try to make up some ground, it looks like, in the next couple of weeks. All right, once again, my color palette isn't behaving this evening. It, of course, is not rain, but it's snow shower activity across the region. Tell you, this is having a little bit of a hard time. We have some little bursts of somewhat heavier snow here and there, but for the most part, this has been kind of an underwhelming event today. A combination of lake effect and a weak weather disturbance passing through, leading to some enhancement of these snow showers. And we have to be careful this evening. I'm going to talk about travel conditions momentarily, but this has been a little bit of a struggle, and to get into a little geeky meteorology here, the reason it's been such a struggle, some drier air getting involved in the atmosphere today. We've had a nice temperature gradient between the air and the waters of the Great Lakes. That's a plus for lake effect, but you don't want too much dry air. And what we're looking at here is what we call an atmospheric sounding off of a model. We're looking from the ground up through the atmosphere. The red line is the temperature as you go up through the atmosphere. The green line is the dew point as you go up through the atmosphere. Where those red and green lines diverge, the temperature and the dew point are far apart, that means the air is dry. When the red and green lines are close together, that means the air is about saturated at that level, and you have clouds and oftentimes some precipitation. This is where our relatively shallow, moist level is, a few thousand feet above our heads this evening. But below that, near the ground, the air is actually somewhat dry, and then a big layer of dry air. Notice the red and green lines diverging again. Up in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and there's just, I think, a little too much dry air for this to be a particularly robust lake effect situation. It's something that we have to be careful about. We don't want to underestimate this too much this evening, because every flake can stick. These are the temperatures of some of our major roads across the region. Air temperatures are down in the teens. Road treatment is not especially effective when it gets this cold, and so every flake can try to stick, even on some treated surfaces. And even though accumulations are going to be pretty modest, you just have to not underestimate this too much. Sometimes these little nuisance events tend to be more problematic than meets the eye sometimes. All right, the cold air, it was here today. It's going to be here again tomorrow. About 20 degrees cooler than average for a high today in Minneapolis. Locally, 12 degrees cooler than the average. Now, we do have some milder air across the Rockies and just downwind of the Rockies. That's going to pay us a brief visit, it looks like, on Wednesday, but it is going to be a pretty brief visit. All right, snow showers and flurries become a little less numerous as we head into the overnight tonight, past midnight. Might be a stray flurry at daybreak tomorrow morning, especially in western PA, but high pressure is going to pay us a brief visit tomorrow. I think the sun's going to break out. It's going to be fairly sunny for the afternoon, but it's not going to help us much in the temperature department. And even though there won't be a whole lot of wind tomorrow, when if air temperatures in the lower 20s, it doesn't take much of a breeze to kick back the wind chills into the lower teens and even single digits. All right, in the wake of a warm front then, temperatures rise tomorrow night into Wednesday, making a run at 40 by the end of the day. Some filtered sun, a little bit of a milky sky at times on Wednesday. This is a pretty brief warm-up, though, because colder air is going to roll back in at the end of the week. But it looks like we're going to dodge a couple of systems, it looks like, Thursday into the first half of the weekend. This first one is likely to, the bulk of it's going to miss us to the south. Now, a bit of snow or a few flurries will be a possibility across the region on Thursday. But for the most part, this next weather disturbance is a miss for us. And I think there'll be another miss coming up as we kick off the upcoming weekend. This is this morning's run of the European model. There's our Thursday system, probably just diving far enough to the south. I can't rule out a touch of snow or flurries, but don't think that'll be a big deal even if we get grazed a little bit. Calm day on Friday. Then another system, another kind of a clipper, just looks like at this point this is going to be mostly a miss to the south. I'm not going to take out the chance of snow completely out of our forecast for Saturday at this point. We're 5 days out, and there's some model information that suggests that we need to allow for at least a small chance for some snow on Saturday. But the bulk of our modeling does take this to the south, and then it kind of rounds the bend a little too late for us and becomes maybe a little bit of a concern for the mid-Atlantic states before heading out to sea. So maybe we're going to dodge a couple of these, but at some point, we can't dodge them all forever, right? At some point in this pattern, we're going to get hit with some decent snows because it is a pretty active-looking pattern for the next couple of weeks. Look at all the disturbances that come down in this northwest flow and rotate through the Great Lakes, the East Coast, the Mid-Atlantic states. This animation takes us all the way out over the next 2 weeks. This is an unsettled and pretty cold pattern shaping up across the eastern two-thirds of the country. And a lot of clippers will come down in the flow. Some of these will make their way towards the East Coast and become fairly sizable East Coast-centered systems. But as long as we have a pretty appreciable amount of blocking up across the northern Atlantic near Greenland, you're going to have a lot of potential in this pattern to keep things cold, to keep the threats for winter weather in our forecast. It looks like almost through the end of January, at the very end of January, and heading into February. If you are not a winter weather fan, I do like what I see heading into February. We're going to try to revert back to a fairly similar pattern that we had in December, it looks like, as we go into February, and that means a relative lack of cold for us. So the heart of winter may be over the next 2 weeks to maybe 2.5 weeks. After that, I think our chances of frequent winter weather do decrease as we flip the calendar. That's it for me tonight. Thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks video. I'll have an update on the forecast, everything else you need to know tonight on 21 News the 11. You can get it anytime, of course, on the Storm Tracker 21 app. And I'll see you back here for Weather Geeks, same time, same place on Tuesday.